Chapter 13. Invitations. Lauren had to spend the remainder of the day sitting at a desk in a corridor outside the senior teachers' offices. She worried what Abigail and John would say when they found out what she'd done. But the more thought she put into it, the more she suspected that it probably hadn't caused the mission any lasting damage. When it got to lunchtime, Lauren was allowed to go off and meet James and Dana in their usual secluded spot. She bumped into a half a dozen of her classmates, who were on her side all of a sudden. "That big lump totally deserved it, Lauren. Maybe you could teach me some of your moves." "Little tiger. Wow." One of the boys grinned. "Come and rough me up any time, Lauren." The group laughed, and Lauren smiled at them, but she was pretty disgusted. Not one of them had helped her when she was just the titchy new kid, but now the balance of power had shifted, they wanted to suck up. She couldn't resist eyeballing the lad who'd called her little tiger. "Didn't you eat one of my sweets earlier?" The kid looked worried. He knew an encounter with a smaller girl who packed a serious punch wasn't going to lead any place good. It was a joke, Lauren. You know, I never realised how bad those two were riding you." "I'll tell you what, son," Lauren said, playing up her London accent. "You bring me a pack of sweets on Monday and I won't say anything more about it, okay?" "Yeah," the kid nodded. "Don't worry. I'll get them." As Lauren walked away, his mates were teasing him. "Man, I hope you forget. I want to see that little girl batter you." She headed for the spot where she always met James and Dana. They sat in the grass, eating one of Abigail's killer sandwiches. "Oh dear, oh dear, oh dear," James grinned. "I heard what happened. I thought I was supposed to be the violent one in the family." Lauren pointed fiercely at him. "Shut it, James. I'm not in the mood." "What did you get?" Dana asked. "Nothing," Lauren said. "Except I've got to write an apology and stay after school to see some dumbass student counsellor." The counsellor was 16 years old, with shoulder-length blonde hair, a little on the dumpy side, but you wouldn't have called her fat. After 4 days at North Park, Lauren had got so that she could recognise a member of the survivors with a glance. There were lots of clues. Not just the shabby uniform and no-brand accessories. There was something distinctive about their body language. A bounce in their step, and the appearance of being slightly happier than a kid wandering a school corridor has any right to be. "Hi," the girl said, reaching out to shake Lauren's hand. "You must be Lauren Prince. I'm Mary." Lauren had spent most of the day stuck at the desk outside the deputy head's office, so she was glad to get away. "So, how's this work?" Lauren asked, as they headed towards an empty classroom. "I've been assigned as your student counsellor," Mary explained. "If you have any problems at school or home that you want to discuss in confidence, I'm always ready to listen." "So, in confidence means you can't tell teachers what I say?" "Absolutely not," Mary said, smiling as usual. "So, what if I told you I'd killed someone?" Mary laughed. "Oh, it's confidential." "Have you killed anyone, by the way?" Lauren smirked. "Not that I can remember." "That's a good start." Mary stopped by a classroom door. She unlocked it and led Lauren inside. "Plant your bum," Mary said. "I've got some tins of drink and a few biscuits if you'd like something." Mary got Lauren a Sprite and a Pepsi for herself before the two girls sat at a desk and turned their chairs to face each other. "I'm afraid the drinks are warm," Mary said. "No fridge in here." Lauren took the can and broke it open. "Okay, let's start," Mary said. "How did you end up at North Park High?" The school wasn't air-conditioned, so the kids always headed straight for the shower when they got home. By the time Lauren arrived from her student counselling, James and Dana were sitting on the living room carpet with wet hair, watching 24-hour news. The pictures were helicopter shots of a 170,000-ton oil tanker breaking apart in the Indian Ocean. "What's this?" Lauren asked, a touch breathless from her ride home in the sun. James looked backwards at his sister. "It was a brand new tanker out of a shipyard in Japan. Looks like it got rammed by a powerboat packed with explosives." "No oil on board," Dana added. "The crew all got off in lifeboats, and they seemed to think that the powerboat was under remote control." Lauren looked stunned. "Help Earth?" "Nobody's admitted responsibility, but who else is it going to be?" James asked. "Anyway," Lauren said, struggling to take her eyes off the TV, "I've got to go and speak to Abigail." "I already sweet-talked her about what happened at school," James said. "She says it's okay to stick up for yourself, as long as you don't make a habit out of it." Lauren shook her head. "It's not that. The student counsellor I had to see was one of them." Dana looked surprised. "Eh? That's outrageous. How can the school allow a bunch of religious nutter kids to counsel the ordinary ones?" James shouted into the kitchen. "Abigail, you'd better come listen to this." Abigail came through wearing an apron with flour marks on it. "I hope you all like veal meatballs," she smiled. James slapped his tummy and grinned. "You're going to make us fat, Abigail." "What did you call me in for?" Lauren explained about her counsellor. Abigail wasn't surprised. "It's a statewide thing. I've read about it in the newspapers. The counselling encourages younger and older kids to interact and helps them deal with bullying and other issues." James nodded. "Some schools in Britain do it as well. But you wouldn't think they'd let survivors become counsellors and go round recruiting kids into their cult." "They've got no choice," Abigail said. "If survivor kids weren't allowed to become counsellors, the group would kick up some big legal stink about religious discrimination and start sending in the lawyers." James looked at Lauren. "So, did this Mary chick try and recruit you?" "A bit," Lauren nodded. "It wasn't the main thing, but she asked me all about my background and about you lot, and our dad leaving and living in England. Then she asked me if I had any friends around, so I go, no. And she goes, well, we've got this group that meets up at our commune on a Saturday. So I acted like I was just a tiny bit interested, and she told me that it was just a fun group. You know, I'd make some friends and stuff, play games, sing songs. She made it sound like Girl Guides or something." Abigail nodded. "Did you say you'd go?" "No, because I thought you might have said it was too soon and not wanted me to. So I just said I'd think about it." She wrote the phone number and address down for me. She said to call ahead and say how many of us were coming. "She invited all of us?" James asked. "Yeah," Lauren nodded, "including Abigail." James looked at Abigail. "So, do we go or not?" Abigail rubbed a floury hand against her chin. "Well, we weren't looking to make first contact with the group until we'd been in the area for a little bit longer, but this is such an unforced opportunity. I'll run it past John for a second opinion, but I don't think it would do any harm to show our faces up there."